It is a great honor to introduce the next speaker. She is a consultant with many institutions and companies in Kenya and the East African region on psychosocial matters. She is a board member and secretary of the HIAS Kenya chapter. She is the professor of psychology in Daystar University. Let's welcome Professor Susan Muriongi. It is a great honor to introduce the next speaker. She is a consultant with many institutions and companies in Kenya and the East African region on psychosocial matters. She is a board member and secretary of the HIAS Kenya chapter. She is the professor of psychology in Daystar University. Let's welcome Professor Susan Muriongi of psychology in Daystar University. Let's welcome Professor Susan Muriongi.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Professor Susan Muriongi from Kenya, Professor of Psychology in Daystar University, which is a Christian institution that is old. I'm so privileged and honored to be amongst you today, courtesy of the organizing team of this conference, led by Apostle Aqua. I'm so grateful, sir, for your invitation to mingle and interact with all the listeners. Let me say the topic or the theme of this conference, the maze navigating spirituality and creativity, is very profound. And as I was requested to add on to this through effective stress management for holistic wellness and balance. As a mental health professional, I chose this topic because stress is a nightmare for all people globally, from all ages, from the unborn children, because the state of the mother affects the state of the unborn child because of the chemicals produced by the brain when somebody is chronically stressed. Now, what is stress? Stress is a psychological situation where somebody, either through their own shortcomings, individual or personal, intrapersonal shortcomings, they are not able to cope with the challenges of life. It can also be as a result of external shortcoming challenges that somebody may be encounters, and therefore when there is this overwhelming feeling, because stress occurs in the brain, in the mind, where you think from, it can cause havoc in the way you think, the way you plan, and the way you do your things. Is stress bad? The answer is no. Stress becomes lethal when it is chronic. Chronic means you are remaining with it over a long period of time. Scientifically, it has been proven that little stress is good for us, because it causes us or influences us to think differently and strategize differently to cope and act, and also it improves our immune system. But when it remains chronic, it means the chemical the brain is producing, which is called cortisol, is interfering or interferes or damages your white blood cells or the cells of your body that fight disease, which lowers your immune system, and therefore you succumb to any illness known to man. Even for those who have got chronic illnesses, it means the drugs they are taking may not be able to function the way they are expected to. Let me say that there is nobody immune to stress. Whether you are a child unborn, whether you are an adult, whether you are male, female, whatever status you are in, religious associations, none is immune to stress. We will only handle stress. We will be able to do away with stress when we go to heaven. But if you go to hell, that will be the beginning of real stress. It has been proven again scientifically that whether or not you will be able to deal or cope with your stress, because there is no inoculation for stress at all, you can only learn how to cope with it. Whether or not you are able to cope with it, to a very great extent, it depends on your attitude. We have two types of attitude. We have negative and positive, and I'm going to look at the positive. So positive attitude is a situation where an individual develops enthusiasm or passion for specific things. For example, gratitude, resilience, passion to find solutions, willingness to learn from mistakes, your own personal mistakes or mistakes of others, cheerful emotional intelligence, forgiving others, harmony, objectivity, performance, achievement, love, care, being peaceable. As Christians, we are told to seek peace and pursue it. Growth and development, boldness and courage to face circumstances and admit that yes, this is a challenge, and then you find a way of dealing with it. Remember this, that it's not only about self, but even others. Because if you're positive, you will impact others to be positive. Whether you are negative, you'll also impact others to be negative. Because the state of the mind, positivity or negativity, is contagious. Now, when you have a positive attitude, what happens? The result of that is you become optimistic. It doesn't matter what challenge that you're facing, you are optimistic that you have what it takes to overcome. Only you need to identify what it is that you need to do. You don't hide behind the curtains of whatever is stressing you. You become hopeful and proactive, and you take appropriate action. You don't become docile to wait for others to come and resolve it for you. You are a go-getter. You know that you can be able to do it with focus, objectivity, and determination. How about negative attitude? When you have a negative attitude as well, you have enthusiasm or passion for what? To become thankless. You become that you don't recognize the small little things that people are doing or that are in you, that are positive, that propel you forwards, but you become thankless. You become a murmurer and a complainer. You are lethargic to push or handle or solve challenges. You are waiting for others to do it for you, yet there is nobody who can do it for you if you can't do it. Giving excuses why they cannot change through learning through their mistakes or mistakes of others. They are sad, they are self-roofing, they hate themselves, they disrupt, they cause chaos and destroy, they hate, they are vengeful because they are not forgiving. Once you become unforgiving, you become bitter. Bitterness kills you slowly like cancer does. And you become so like a pollutant around your environment, to yourself and the environment. When you have a negative attitude, you also neglect your responsibilities and you cause disharmony. Yeah? And all this negative attitude, the exhibits of negative attitude make you become a pessimist. You become pessimistic, you become hopeless, you feel helpless, you become demotivated to sort out issues that are only affecting you. And this results to your holistic retardation. And let the positive attitude that gives you a holistic progress and development. Remember, your ability to navigate spirituality and creativity is going to be affected by whether you're having chronic stress or not, whether you're having a positive or negative attitude or not. The way you are created by Jehovah God is to govern the environment, take care of the environment, not to remain docile and help and expect others to manage it for you. Now, what are the causes or precipitators of stress? There are three broad categories. There is the person, you, the individual. You can be the factory of your own stress because of what we are going to discuss later. It is powerful, it is profound, because when you are the manufacturer of your own stress, it doesn't matter how enabling the environment is, you will not be able to make it. The other causes are environmental causes. You have little or no hand in it. You know, and when you talk about the environment, it's from your family, your friends, the workplace, the entire environment, your country, whatever it is, your socializations, social contacts. And then finally, biological. Again, biological is what's happening in your body, the diseases that could be affecting you. Either they may be causatives of the stress symptoms, or the medications that you're taking could result in you experiencing stress symptoms. Let's go deeper into each one of them. Personal causes. What does it involve? And please listen carefully so that you can evaluate yourself and see, do you have this? Are you the manufacturer of your own stress? One is a negative attitude. When you have a negative attitude, I said and I repeat, there is no enabling environment that can resolve that. Negative attitude, poor time management, and poor planning. When you are not aware of time, you think you have eternity in this world, and you are always late. You don't plan. You think you have eternity in this world. Here there are many things that are waiting for you to do, and because you are not conscious of time, and you discuss that later when you are looking at how we can manage our time effectively. Poor assertiveness. This simply means you're not able to tell yourself no, neither are you able to tell others no. You don't speak your mind, either because you are afraid or you are so negative that the environment is going to be unreceptive to you, or it can be poor self-image. Yeah, you don't have the confidence to speak your mind, and this can really cause you a lot of stress because you end up doing things or being involved in activities that you don't immediately want to do, but you're just following the cloud. When you have poor assertiveness, you are like a butterfly. You move where the wind blows you. You are. It doesn't matter how old or young you are. The impact of peer pressure becomes your guiding compass. It's terrible. And forgiveness and constant anger. And forgiveness is personal. It is personal because once you forgive, you find that you are having wounds in your body and resolve wounds because of unforgiveness. And when something else happens, it adds onto your wound, and you continue becoming worse and worse in how it is acting inside. Constant anger is another one. Usually when you are unforgiving, you find that your ability to control your anger is affected badly. Lack of appropriate qualifications in everything that you intend to do. Many times, some of us want to be photocopies of the other, or we want to do what others are doing without knowing if we have the qualifications, the giftings, the abilities to do it the way it's supposed to be done to give us success, what success we did. Lack of intelligence. Sometimes they can even be lazy, not wanting to learn new things, or know how can I do this so that it gives me the results that I want it to give me, and it will end up getting involved in things that are going to fail, and that will give you a lot of stress. Poor self-image. This comes about because of your socialization since when you are a child, what you have been listening to, inability to identify your strong points so that you listen more to the negative, either speaking of the environment or even the devil himself, telling you are not good enough, you're not like this, and you believe it, and therefore you start thinking that you're not good enough. This causes you to listen even more to the environment, and you start becoming suspicious how negative the environment is towards you, and you will become stressed when you are not supposed to be stressed. Procrastination is another terrible thing. I will do it tomorrow. I have enough time. You remember we talked about enough time, effective time management. Those people who procrastinate, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it next year, and life just passes you by, time passes you by, and sometimes you will do it, but you'll find that the time you're doing it, you get overwhelmed with the many things that you're supposed to do within a very, very short time. Poor planning is another element, and failure to achieve personal goals, either because of procrastination, or you have come up with goals that are too big for you without looking at your ability and capability, or giving yourself too much things to do within a very short time, such that you fail to achieve your set goals, and this can stress you out. Poor decision making. Decision making is a process, and very few people know how to decision make, and they want to do things like microwave things, without thinking them through, without insightfully thinking them through, identify exactly what you want to achieve or accomplish, and the different methods that you can take to achieve it, and then looking at the pros and cons of whatever it is that you want to achieve, and identifying the best of them, and then monitoring and evaluating the success. That's that by the end of the day, you find if you're not doing that decision making properly, you will end up doing things that you should not have done. Change of status. You are poor, and all of a sudden, outside of you yet, it affects your thinking, it affects your mind. Family and relationship challenges, whether in the family level, work level, or social engagement, whatever challenges, remember always that your poison could be my cup of tea, and my cup of tea could be your poison. We cannot compare ourselves. So and so went through this, they were able to manage it properly. I am going through this, yet I'm not coping. Please know we are all unique and singular. Family and relationships with friends and at work and all your other engagements can be a result, can cause you to have environmental causes of your stress, disasters and tragedy, whether it's involving you or involving your observing or your witnessing, can bring you a lot of stress, insecurities, whether your insecurity or insecurity of others, lack of social support. Sometimes you may be going through something at home and nobody is giving you social support. We call it psycho support. It could be happening even in church. Right? Chronic frustrations is where you are getting frustrated time and again. You are not resolving whatever it is. You are not progressing to meet causes, blockages due to wrangles. You are not achieving your set goals or objectives or aspirations. Abuse, it could be emotional, psychological, or even physical. And this can not only give you stress, it can even progress into PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. It can even evolve into depression, or you can have the three of them, comorbidity of chronic stress, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder, and you become quite dysfunctional. Poor communication, sometimes the environment may fail to communicate to you effectively and efficiently, and you end up making very serious mistakes. Overwork is another one, underwork is another one. And finally, you get lowered libido. Libido is desire for sex. And what to you if you are a man? Okay, because if that goes, then it doesn't mean what you are told, what you see, or what you want. You cannot stand up to the occasion. If we have time, we will talk more about that. Physical symptoms, you start feeling because of what's happening in your mind, you start experiencing muscle tension, and the mental anguish that you are experiencing start causing your body to somatize the psychological pain into the physical body, and you start experiencing pains and aches. And you're not pretending, pains and aches everywhere, head quake, neck quake, back quake, everywhere is paining. You may even go to hospital, they do all tests and they will not see anything. But if you don't know, this is psychosomatized pain. Skin problems, especially if you are women and they are, they start developing acne or roughness of skin. Autonomic hyperarousal, there are people when they are stressed, they can even diarrhea, others they constipate. Others, you start feeling your bladder is full, you go to the toilet and very little drops of urine comes out because the body, the mind is completely disorganizing your body systems. Over alertness, is another one, feeling on edge and becoming hyper vigilant. When you're like that, your functionality gets affected. Let's look at the behavioral symptoms that now your behaviors change and you can see the behaviors of another person. Poor grooming, when you're chronically stressed, your neatness, cleanliness, and tidiness is compromised, disinterest in usual things. You just feel you want to be left alone. Yeah, irritability, you become very irritable, small little things, you hit the roof. Your anger management skills get really badly compromised. Complaining, you start becoming a complainer and a murmurer, and this causes your aggressiveness to increase, both physical, negative aggressiveness, mourning, sometimes you can cry, you feel sad, very sad. Because remember we said the psychological where you lack concentration and you are mentally tired, it means you have poorly completed tasks or not completed at all, uncompleted or poorly completed tasks. Whether you're working, your productivity gets really compromised. Absenteeism or frequent lateness, absenteeism from where you are supposed to be. Why? Because you're feeling unwell. And therefore you may absent yourself. Yeah, apathetic and don't care attitude and acts. And overeating, there are some people when they are very stressed, they overeat. Others, they don't eat enough. And you are told that if you find that you are adding weight within a month, you have added 1 kilo of weight, maybe, and you are not sick, or it wasn't your intention to add it, then maybe you are overeating and vice versa for undereating. Yeah, poor customer care in case you're working when you're stressed, your productivity again will be badly affected. Suspiciousness leading to apathy, you become disorganized, you start developing poor intra and interpersonal relationships, resulting to internal conflict and sabotage, either to yourself or to the institution or to the work that you are involved in. Let's look at the outcomes of unresolved chronic stress. There are 5 of them. You're going to have psychosocial imbalances resulting to poor intra and interpersonal relationships, which will affect one holistically in their endeavors. Number 2, you're going to experience imbalances due to ill health. Remember we said cortisol compromises your immune system. And therefore when you are unwell, it means your productivity is going to go down. Number 3, reduced creativity and reduced holistic productivity, and this is going to affect your finances. Yeah, inability to unleash your maximum potential when you are unwell, when you are psychosocially imbalanced. Yeah, when it means that you will not be able to unleash your maximum potential in all your endeavors. And finally, poor navigation of spirituality and retardation of creativity. This results into poor productivity again. Then, how then are we supposed to manage this stress? Remember we said there is no inoculation for stress. We just need to identify it before it becomes chronic and deal with it. But how? Again, there are 3 ways. There is the individual, which is profound. Can you believe it? WHO and International Labour Organization came together and they did a lot of studies to try and identify some tips. And both the institutions in agreement came up with 3 concepts of time. And then out of that, they came up with 5 tips on how to manage your time effectively. And the 3 concepts of time are ensuring that you are aware of time. It's called time awareness. Time awareness means you are consciously aware that in life you don't have eternity here. You have, for example, 7 days in a week, 24 hours in an hour, 60 minutes in 1 hour, 52 weeks in a year, 12 months in a year. And once you consciously know that, then the concept number 2 follows. You plan for your time. Time planning. You cannot afford to just stay less satisfied doing things just haphazardly. You have to plan your time, identify exactly what you want to do and for how long. If you don't put for how long, you'll find that you are going to the market for 3 hours instead of 30 minutes. And finally, that concept is time saving. Time saving, even if you have identified what to do and allocated how much time it will take, please ensure you do it in less time. If you have done that, then the 5 tips that these 2 organizations give are live a balanced life each day. What does that mean? It means the 24 hours you have each day divided into 3, and this gives you 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work, and everything else that you need to do, you do it in the other remaining 8 hours. And what else are you supposed to do? It takes you to tip number 2, organize your time around roles. All of us in this world, as adults, we have, not adults, even children, we have 4 roles. We have work roles, we have family roles, personal roles, and social roles. Remember, the 8 hours have been taken by work roles. The other 8 hours have been taken by sleep. Then the other 8 hours, now you have to divide those 8 hours between family, personal, and social roles. It's up to you to identify the sub-roles in each one of them so that you intelligently and insightfully allocate more time where it matters. If, for example, you put a lot of time in social and ignore family, you'll have a problem. If you don't put personal roles where you are, resting and you are doing things that please you, that energize you, that encourage you as an individual, then you'll be fatigued. Number 3, use known tools which organize effective people. These could be diaries, use of phones, use of anywhere where you do things according to priority. Did you know that as much as there are many things that want to be done for you or that are expected to be done by you, it's only a few of them that give you maximum profit or benefit. There's something called Pareto 80-20 rule. That one says out of 100%, only 20% of the things that you intend to do will give you 80% benefit or profit. The other Pareto 80-20 rule says this, that out of the 100% of the things that you are planned to do next month or next week or even today, only 20% of them will give you 80% profit or benefit. But the 80% of the things that you are going to do will give you 20% profit. If, for example, you are planned to do 10 things, only 2 things of those things will give you 80% benefit. The other 80 things you intend to do will give you 20% benefit. Therefore, it is only wisdom that you identify the few things that give you maximum profit and allocate them more time. And finally, save time saving. In whatever it is that you do, save time for other things. So that's as much as for effective time management, practice forgiveness. Forgiveness heals the forgiver. Improve your self-image. Please take time and identify reflectively. Identify those positive things that you have, so that when negativity comes in, you can challenge the negativity with the positive that you know. Practice improve self-image and self-esteem. Please learn to appreciate yourself. Grooming, self-grooming is very, very, very good. It helps because when you groom yourself, you are treated with dignity and acceptance at the end. It makes you feel good, and not content. Employ stress coping strategies which improve your assertiveness. Remember we talked about assertiveness, being able to speak your mind boldly. Yeah, effective problem solving. Just like decision making, you have to know what is the problem, not the symptom. Deal with the real problem and not the symptoms, and then look at the alternative ways of solving that problem. Look at the pros and cons of whatever it is that you have identified, and identify that which suits you, and have time to evaluate. Just like decision making, we say employ appropriate relaxation techniques. Each one of us is relaxed by different things. Please not taking alcohol. Is that alcohol, substances of abuse, when you lack sleep and you are taking Piriton, you are taking other psychoactive substances to make you sleep, that's not the way. Find out what is it that is causing you sleep, resolve it. Practice sleep hygiene.
It is a great opportunity to welcome the next speaker for today. She is the author and convener of The Bold New Normal. She is passionate about giving back and has written several articles sharing insights on career advancement and leadership. Let's kindly welcome, with a round of applause, Lucy Quist.
Welcome to The Bold New Normal, the podcast where bold ideas meet transformative action. I'm your host, Lucy Quist.
Hello, everyone. I'm really sorry to not be able to be with you in person at the Total Package Conference this year. I know this is going to be an absolutely amazing time. All the speakers are amazing. And I really wanted to share with you something that's really close to my heart. We talk about the total package, and we're talking about in the context of being Christians in the workplace and some of the challenges and the ups and downs of what it takes for us to live our faith in the workplace. So here is a video, a 2-part video that I recorded previously that I'd love for you to watch and have a brilliant discussion. It's from my heart. It's really, really deep from my heart, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did recording it. Thank you. Enjoy yourselves. Take care. Bye.
Welcome to The Bold New Normal, the podcast where bold ideas meet transformative action. I'm your host, Lucy Quist, and I'm here to challenge mindsets, ignite conversations, and inspire you to create the future you deserve. A future where equity, opportunity, and prosperity are not just dreams but realities. So let's dive in and build the bold new normal together. Earlier this year, as part of International Women's Month, I had the awesome opportunity to speak at the International Women's Leadership Conference in Dubai, hosted by Mrs. Ibukun Awusika. Now, if you know Mrs. Awusika, then you know that she's comparable to none. I was asked to speak about living the corporate dream, but I think this time you'll be surprised that I didn't take the normal, usual approach to sharing the highlights of my journey story. What really goes on behind the scenes as we walk that corporate journey? I invite you to walk along that journey with me as you listen. Enjoy. Good morning. So many distinguished ladies and gentlemen in this room today, all protocols observed. And I'm excited that there's so many powerful women that I know in this room that I hope to get some time with before I leave. I apologize that I'm only here for the day. It will be clearer as I speak as to why, but I did start a new job on Monday, so it kind of made it difficult for me to honor the full 3 days. First, want to say thank you to you all that you're going to lend me your attention, but a very important thank you to Mrs. Ibukun Awusika. We love you, we admire you. You possibly might underestimate your impact. I know you know you're impactful. But Mrs. Awosika was one of these women that some of us always thought it'd be great to meet her one day. And I remember having the privilege of moderating a panel that she was on quite a number of years ago. So she may or may not remember, but it was in Paris. And I was so excited about that. And so last year when she reached out to me, and I'll explain that in a bit, to speak today, I felt truly honored. You know, we meet people we admire and they inspire us, and we think that there are many things about them that we want to be. And thankfully, God made us all unique. And so while there'll never be another Mrs. Awosika, and we're all individuals, there's something that she has said that I believe was definitely speaking to me and hopefully to many of you. And I paraphrase her words in saying that she wants to leave this life spent. And I completely identify with that thought because God has invested so much into each and every single one of us at birth, but also throughout our journeys. And wouldn't it be such a shame to return to him with change? I don't want to give him change. I want him to give me something new when this is all said and done. So as I prepared for today, I thought, Lucy, you've spoken in so many different rooms, so many different forums around the world. Today, for me, is about vulnerability, because while we do get to talk about living the dream in the context of the corporate world, is what I'm going to focus on, we don't always get the opportunity to share our struggles, our challenges, our insecurities, our failures, the times we were crying and somebody had to pick us up. And you always get the nice sort of intro and bio about how amazing and wonderful you supposedly are. Now, I'm not going to give you Bible quotations as I go through this, but I do want you to level set with me. I'm a Bible-believing, studying, practicing Christian. So there's nothing I'm going to say to you that is outside of that. And sometimes it takes being reminded. Yesterday, my oldest son turned 21. And a friend of mine was reminding me, she said, where did the years go? Lucy, remember when you were pregnant and we decided to read the book of Esther to prepare? I'm like, we did? I didn't even remember that. But the point is that it is an integral part of my life. I won't keep repeating it. You probably hear it as I speak, but that's our level set. So what is this dream? What is this corporate dream that I supposedly have, which is why I get permission to speak to you today? You know, I was born to two very unremarkable people, and I say that lovingly and kindly. My dad was born in a Ghanaian village in the Ashanti region. My mom was born in a Ghanaian village in Greater Accra. They're both born in villages. The story of how they met is a whole other story, but what's interesting about my parents is that they come from different parts of the country, so they come from different sorts of cultural backgrounds. And my dad was super intellectual, the only one of his family who would go on to university because his mother believed, there's a whole backstory around how it happened, but she believed that this one child was the child she was going to support, whilst his father believed that this was the one child who shouldn't go to school and actually should be trained traditionally only. So women, your power is immense. Because if she hadn't made those choices, there wouldn't be me, certainly not. And so he went to university and studied engineering. Now, my mother, for her part, was the only one of her siblings who went to school. She was the youngest child of her mother. She went to school, and she tells me how, at some point growing up, she really didn't want to go to school any longer because she didn't see the point. Nobody else went to school, so why was she stuck in this thing called school? And her grandfather, my mom is in her 70s now, her grandfather told her that if you don't go to school, who's going to buy the tobacco from my pipe? That's proverbially speaking. He was speaking to her. And so she understood that she had a responsibility to be in school. So the remarkable thing about my unremarkable father was the fact that he was really smart, and so education became his thing. The remarkable thing about my seemingly unremarkable mother is that she was a dreamer. I cannot to this day understand how she managed to dream these dreams. So she'd tell me how she'd be in her village and she'd see a plane pass over, and she'd be like, oh, one day I'm going to see the world. And I'm like, but you're in a village, you haven't made it to Accra. So how are you thinking about the world? Let's start with how we make it to Accra. But these two people's lives and ethos became the underpinning of my life. And they would subsequently meet in Accra through work. So they did make it to Accra and leave Ghana and go and follow well. She ended up marrying the person who would actually be part of the vehicle to fulfill those dreams of seeing the world. And so I ended up being born to these parents in the United Kingdom many years ago. And we'll come back to those years soon. It was an exciting life I had with my parents, but my parents always yearned to be on the African continent. They were always these people who would always tell stories about how much they missed home, how much their life they wanted to be in Africa. And so when I was 7 years old, we moved to Nigeria. Nigeria was my first real home on the African continent, where I made real friends. I lived in Lagos as a 7-year-old child, and we were there for a couple of years. And we wouldn't have left Lagos if it hadn't been for the fact that in 1983, Nigeria said Ghana must go. And because Ghana had to go, we had to go to Ghana. Now, in 1983, it was a difficult year for Ghana because you had 1 million Ghanaians, myself included, who had arrived. The rains had failed. So many things had gone wrong for the country economically. And so there I was, this child who had a relatively okay middle-class life, arrived in Ghana and really ended up with a life that was really at the bottom of the pile because my parents, I've told you, they came from these villages. They didn't have connections. They didn't know people. And in those days, even staple food items were scarce. You had to know the right people. And as a 9-year-old, I would sit and I would wonder, I do spend a lot of time in my head to this day, how did we get here as a country? And I didn't have big fancy words, but I said to myself that when I grow up,